Neonatologist is a specialty in pediatrics that we work with premature babies. Honestly, we work in the NICU, neonatal intensive care units. So all babies that came earlier, we take care of those babies. Parents are the role model of the kids. They follow their sample, they follow all the habits and the things that they do. No one else have the role to be you because that role was only given to you. As a parent, if you don't understand yourself and don't have the tools to navigate in a world that is in constant change, what will happen to the next generation? When you're calm, you can see things in reality as it is rather than our thoughts tell us. Every stimuli that you have or the things that you see, it needs a response, not a reaction. When I say it's a journey, it's meaning that every day you're learning. Every day you're learning new ways of how to keep yourself up, how to show up to others in the best way that you can. Wellness, it's not a destination, it's a continuous journey. And so every small habit that you do, it's a small step that you're taking for bettering yourself.
Welcome to the Superhuman Blueprint Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Superhuman Blueprint Podcast. I am your host, Drew Griesel from Primal Wellness Coaching, and today I am chatting with Dr. Edgar Reynoso Vanderhorst. Real quick, show notes for today's episode will be found at thesuperhumanblueprintpodcast.com. Also, please do us a huge favor and help the algorithm get this show out to more people by subscribing, rating, and commenting on our show and episodes. Please and thank you. So today's guest is a pediatric neonatologist at a children's hospital in Chicago. We'll explain what that means shortly. He's a doctor in a specific pediatric setting, and encouragingly, and as seems to be catching on little by little within the actual medical profession, Dr. Vanderhorst is a bit of a pioneer in pursuing wellness and not just understanding sickness. So he has a profound curiosity for true wellness and is deep in the exploration of what it means to be well and to possibly even mitigate the needs to go see a doc other than for emergency situations by taking control of your health and wellness. Dr. Vanderhorst is the author of the book, Wellness, Optimizing Yourself, and today we are going to chat about what that means. Dr. Edgar Reynoso Vanderhorst, welcome to the Superhuman Blueprint Podcast.
Hi, how are you, Drew? Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm great. How are you doing?
Well, so far so good, just holding on in the cold weather.
Yeah, you're in Chicago. What's it like these days?
Well, so far these days have been like -6 Celsius, so a little snow here and there,
Yeah,
and
okay.
a little wind. I can handle it.
Yeah, it's been, I love Chicago. I haven't been there for ages, but I've been there a handful of times and I love it. I've never been there in the winter. I've been there in the summer, which is kind of terrible, and I've been there in the fall, which I really like.
Yeah, most of the people they like the fall because it's like a weather that you can hang out around, like go
Yeah,
outside, and it's cool to walk around.
yeah, yeah. I'm a Southern California guy, so I'm kind of spoiled by never having experienced winter in my in my hometown. It's not a thing here.
That's okay. We had something in common. Like I'm from the Dominican Republic, so we only have one season over there. It's summer all the
Yeah,
time. So
yeah. That must have been quite a shock going to Chicago.
yeah, before Chicago, I was living in New York, and when I was about to
Okay.
come from Chicago, they told me like, "Oh, it's the same. It's the same winter. Like if you survive the winter of New York, it's gonna be the same."
Yeah, except then
Honestly,
you got to add the wind, right?
yeah, a little
Because you get
colder
all that
here.
wind right off the lake.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, good for you. You're hanging in.
And you haven't lived like in California all your life, right?
Not all my life, but most of my life. I grew up here in Southern California. I moved to Northern California for a while, which is, it's still California. A little bit cooler, a little bit more rain, but still pretty darn nice most of the time. Lived in Oregon for a little bit, so more aligned with kind of like 3.5 seasons in Oregon.
Okay.
And then I lived in Sydney, Australia, which is basically like living in Southern California.
Wow. Australia.
So yeah, I've been kind of spoiled most of my life.
To be honest, I want to go to California one day. I never been in that state.
Really?
Put in my bucket list. Yeah, honestly.
No kidding. Yeah, come on by. It's lovely here when we're not on fire.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, like right now is kind of a terrible time to come here to Southern California because I don't probably be a few weeks before this episode's published, but as we're recording today is during these massive fires throughout Los Angeles County. So we're just we're all kind of waiting to see how that goes and hope these firefighters can get the situation under control.
Yeah, and I hope there's only materialistic destruction, nothing else.
Yeah.
People, everything.
Yeah, I mean there's been a few fatalities, but considering the breadth of the fire itself, if you can say such a thing, I guess a few is not bad, but there's been a huge area that's pretty burned up, but mostly people have been able to evacuate.
But that's something that always happens like yearly, or it depends.
It's maybe not yearly at this scale, but yeah, it's not uncommon. It was just in the second half of last year, maybe last October or so, that here where I live in Orange County, we had quite a few fires. When I would take my kid to school in the morning, I could see the top of the local hills just kind of was all bright orange, even in the middle of the day.
And your kid's asking like, "Oh, Dad, what's going on?" What do you tell
Yeah, I
him?
mean, I'm telling him, we let him know what's going on. It's a lot of smoke. He couldn't, they're not playing outside those days because the air is terrible.
That's true.
Yep. But when it's not on fire, it's beautiful. All right, let's talk about you.
Okay.
So yeah, let's. You're a pediatric neonatologist, and I keep looking down. I've got your book here, so I'm looking at your book. Yeah, I read through it. I love it. One thing that I love about this book, and I have a short attention span for nonfiction. I love fiction. I'm a huge fan of fiction. I love the idea of nonfiction, but I have a short attention span. So when you get a book that's like 500-600 pages, like I will never ever get to the end of that book. Your book is less than 100 pages, and I got all the way through it, and I got all the way through it very quickly, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, for me, honestly, the book is short, but at the same time, I wrote it in a simple way that people can understand the things. Even that I'm a doctor, sometimes we tend to write and talk in medical jargon. But for me, just to understand the perspective, understand the meaning of my knowledge, and put it in a simple way that everyone can understand, digest those information.
Yeah, you did that, and it was very easy to follow along with. And although I have the physical paperback version here, I actually got it on audio as well, and I listened to it. That's generally how I do most of my reading, is multitasking. So I listened to your book while I was packing up all my Christmas decorations, and so yeah, the fact that I'm doing one thing but also listening to your book, it wasn't so complicated that I couldn't follow along, which I appreciate.
Thank you. I appreciate that you say that, because for me that was one of my goal. It's not only to write down something, because for me I want to share my knowledge, but at the same time I was thinking, how can I share my knowledge in a way that people can engage and understand? Because there's two different things. One thing is how can I engage you? How can I make you understand this is something that you can learn from it, and something that at the same time you can implement those things? Because it's not only bombarding you with a lot of information, it's also give you tangible tools that you can use in your daily life.
Right. Yeah, and I want to get into that for sure. I got kind of earmarked a few pages here. But real quick, so you're a pediatric neonatologist. I had never heard the word neonatologist before I met you. Obviously, everyone knows what pediatric means, but can you just explain what a neonatologist is?
Yeah, of course. So neonatologist is a specialty in pediatrics that we work with premature babies. Honestly, we work in the NICU, neonatal intensive care unit. So all babies that came earlier, we take care of those babies, and also those babies like full term. We call full term babies when they reach 37 weeks to 40 weeks. It's meaning like 9 months, and something happens during the delivery, and we are the ones who have to take over.
Yeah. So is every doc in a NICU, is every doc in a NICU a neonatologist?
Yeah, in order to work in the NICU, you had to be a neonatologist.
Okay, got it.
And this is a real
Neonatologist. Sorry,
requirement.
I'm saying the word wrong. Neonatologist.
Yeah.
I added an extra N in there. Neonatologist. Thank you. Got it. Okay, cool. So that's kind of interesting. And I've talked to a few docs on this show, but you're the first pediatric doctor I've spoken to. And so kind of a unique situation in that your patients obviously are these newborns, but the people that you're dealing with outside of the physical care is the parents, and probably parents that are pretty stressed out. Like how does that work for you?
Yeah, and thank you that you say that, because for me, most of my patients, they don't talk to me. I need to
Right.
understand just how the body works. And with the ones that I talk in most, it's with the parents. And for me, I understand that part, the role that I play, because it's not only treating kids and impacting family, but in the way that I approach the parents, because most of the time when I talk to them, it's not in I can say in a wonderful situation. It's in a difficult, I will have difficult conversation with them about the outcomes and how their baby's doing. And there's a lot of emotions, and at the same time I had to develop different qualities, how I can be empathetic, and at the same time how they can trust me, because I need to build trust. Because in order to treat something for their parents, because that's the loved one, if you don't trust me, you will doubt all the things that I'm doing. And for me, it's like, how can they trust me so we can be on the same page for the better outcomes for the patient?
Yeah.
That's a hard part, but for me, I love it.
I have to imagine the parents probably come into this relationship with you with some degree of trust in place already, because like they're with the baby born prematurely, they're really relying on the medical system to be able to carry that premature baby through to being healthy and being able to go home and function as a normal newborn baby. Do you find that parents are usually like kind of leaning into that and immediately accepting of you, or do you find that there's challenges there? Upgrade your wellness with the Ringcon Smart Ring, the ultimate all-in-one health tracker that offers comprehensive metrics without the subscription fee. You know what I'm talking about. Track everything from your heart rate and blood oxygen levels to sleep quality and stress index. This ring even monitors your daily steps and workouts, giving you a complete picture of your overall well-being. One of the standout features of the Ringcon Smart Ring for me is its ability to track sleep and movement. It understands your sleep patterns and can help you to optimize your rest, improve recovery, and enhance your overall health. The ring provides detailed insights into your sleep stages, helping you to identify disruptions and make better adjustments for better quality sleep. With improved sleep, as you know, you can then boost your energy levels, cognitive function, and your overall mood. So it is worth tracking your sleep, folks. The Ringcon Smart Ring also excels in tracking your daily movement and workouts. So by monitoring your steps and your activity levels and your exercise routines, it helps you to stay active and to reach your fitness goals. And for those of you that care about this kind of thing, you can actually turn off Bluetooth on the ring, only activating it when you're ready to look at the real-time data in the app on your phone. This way you're not getting hammered with more wireless signals. So don't miss out on optimizing your wellness. Head over to primalwellnesscoaching.com/ringcon. That's RINGCONN, primalwellnesscoaching.com/ringcon, and get your Ringcon Smart Ring today. No subscription, just pure health power on your finger.
You have the trust because you trust the medical system, but at the same time, in the NICU, neonatal intensive care unit, we sometimes don't know what the cause. So it's mainly like we had to hypothesize and figure out how the bodies work, and at the same time need to explain to parents. Sometimes when you're explaining to parents, they need to understand. And now when we have Google, they can look it up. And sometimes we had to make sure that they understand a few parts, because when they Google it, they can tell different diagnoses, and they say, oh, doctor, but I Googled this one and we did not talk about this one. And also at the same time, treatments, because treatment has side effects. What will be the long-term outcomes for your baby based on this prematurity that this baby have. So those conversations, sometimes it's hard, and at the same time you have the trust. But the trust is not only when I'm making sure that all the like when you have premature babies, all the organs are already developed, but they're not mature yet.
Right.
So when I make sure that this baby, all the organs of the baby is mature yet, and I give it to the parents, at the same time, I need to give them reassurance, and at the same time, I need to give anticipatory guidance. I need to give guidance. And
Yeah.
sometimes those guidance, I need to build more trust, because sometimes the outcomes for babies, when I say outcomes, I talk about milestone. Oh, my baby should walk at 1 year old. My baby should talk at 6 months old. Because your baby came earlier, this conversation is different with you.
Okay.
And at the same time, I need to talk to you like I'm gonna see you in the clinic, but we're gonna work to each other because you're with your baby 24 hours. I'm just going to see your baby, and you had to tell me what you do, how your baby eat, what type of, if they're giving breast milk, if they're giving formula, what type of supplement. Because
Yeah.
at the same time, some parents will say like, "Oh, I saw the neighbors was giving another supplement, but they don't want to tell the doctor because they feel afraid about change that the doctor would say something." So
Okay.
also that type of trust that I need to build, like, tell me everything. I'm here just
Yeah.
to help you. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the type of thing that I'm dealing, and that's something that I really enjoy because I like to build these connections with parents in a way that they see me as a someone that is just giving information to them. We just having a conversation with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good for you, because I mean, I'm a parent and I know a lot of parents, and parents get pretty hyper emotional about the safety of their children. And um, that's when high emotion is in play, conversations have to be handled very delicately. Um, but yeah, you're out there doing good things. I mean, and that's one thing that I'm interested in kind of exploring with you, because you've got this focus on wellness, which I feel like that must be a kind of a separate thing, right? Because you're not talking to the parents about, I don't know, gratitude or some of these other, like, getting cold and some of these other things, right? So you're a doctor doing what you do, but then you're also like trying to explore the world of wellness and spread this message of really how to care for yourself. And so I kind of like that you have the two things that you do, right? Because the as I understand it, and I don't really know, because you had your medical training in Dominican Republic, so I don't know what it's like over there. I've heard pretty profoundly over here that medical training here is primarily related to understanding illness and understanding kind of pharmaceutical and surgical intervention. There isn't a lot of focus in medical training here in the United States on like preventative care and on wellness exactly. Um, so
Well,
you have this kind of wellness thing. Just out of curiosity, since I've got you, how is that training from where you're from in the Dominican Republic? Like, do you have much in your education there on health?
yeah, honestly, that's a really good question because the medical system, it's reasoning that we learn information just like to give to the patient, talk to the patient, and sometimes we don't understand different factors that can influence for every illness and disease. In the Dominican Republic, the medical system, honestly, it's almost like the same as here.
Okay.
But the touch in me was when I got my journey, because I got my medical degree in the Dominican Republic, but my university, most of the time, they train us to take the United States medical license examination to do our specialty here in the United States. In that journey, I started to understand that everyone is the whole being. You have to understand a patient in a different way. It's not in a you give me something and you tell me what you have and then I'm gonna give you to prescribe something. You have to see the patients in a whole being. When I say whole being, you have to know the factors, the environment, the mind, the habits that they have.
Yeah.
In that part, when as a pediatrician, at that point, I understand one thing. When you have a kid, parents are the role model of the kids. They
Hmm.
follow their sample, they follow all the habits and the things that they do. Okay? So at that point, I understand, okay, if I'm going to make an impact, because I don't talk with child most of the time, I talk with the parents.
Yeah.
I need to understand how the parents are doing,
Oh, okay.
because the way the parents are doing, that will be the outcomes for my baby.
Wow. Cool.
And in that part, I understand one thing. If you, as a parent, if you don't understand yourself and don't have the tools to navigate in a world that is in constant change, what will happen to the next generation? What will happen to those kids?
Yeah.
So my goal was, I need to go to the root of how I can make more impact.
Okay.
And that's why I started to dig in the wellness to see patients in different way. It's
Yeah.
not something that they taught me in medical school. Probably it's something that I learned in my own journey, because we learn different things. And for me, writing those tools that I learned in my journey, some tools will help you as a parent, as a leader that you want to become in in whatever field that you want to be. But some tools won't help you. So that's why
Yeah.
I understand, in order to grow as a society, is in the togetherness.
Yeah.
But we had to share and be vulnerable with each other, to share the information that we each other learns. Example, like, I don't have to go to the same journey as you in order for me to learn those things. Probably
Hmm.
we can have a good conversation, be vulnerable with each other, and we can all share the tools and information that we all learn in our journey.
Yeah.
So that was all the things that I understand and I want to implement in the field.
That's really interesting. So in your practice, you're treating these babies, but you're almost evaluating the parents as well to help them be in a position to be fit to care for these babies.
Yeah, indeed.
That's amazing. That's
That's
really
something
cool.
that, and most of the time we had to see this as something that I don't want just myself. I want to implement this in the healthcare system, to see every patient, everyone in a different kind of things. When I say, but what I mean by that, it's meaning that we have the medical system right now, and at this point we understand we have informations. But information is just only valuable if we understand and given to someone that can understand that information.
Yep.
What I mean by that, sometimes when you have a patient, you can talk to them and you can start to talk in medical jargons. You have all the information, you had good intentions, but do you think they're gonna understand that part? So that's
Yeah.
also another layer that we had to think about, how we can make those conversations, how we can make those informations in a way that it can be better receptive to the other person, they can take it.
And I think another side of that is, are they willing? Are they willing to explore that conversation? And I just had a podcast come out this week with a doctor out in Norway, Dr. Torkel Faro, who is he's done GP and a whole bunch of other stuff. He works in emergency right now. He's got a whole wellness thing where he kind of pioneered this method of using heart rate variability to manage your wellness, and using wearables to keep an eye on that and understand how different things in your life, food, sleep, exercise, relationships, etc., kind of impact your wellness and your ability to be healthy, fight off disease, and so on and so forth. But anyway, he was telling me that it's rare that when he's in front of a patient, these are, it's emergency, right? So these are adult patients that are coming to him for emergency care, but when he tries to explore, like, well, why did this happen to you? Maybe there's something in your lifestyle that we can correct so that you're not dealing with whatever it is that you're dealing with. He's saying in most cases they don't want to hear that. They just want him to give them something, to give them that band-aid or that quick fix and be on their way. And so that's where I think almost the perception of what the medical system is for and what it does, is as you were saying you want to do it, it needs a bit of a revolution.
Yeah, and honestly, that's totally true, because sometimes you can have the information, but you have to have people who have the curiosity to understand there is more than that. There is another perspective. And I really like what you're talking about the heart rate variability, because in I can give you the information, but you have to give me tools, tangible tools that I can use in my daily life. Because I'm a parent, I need to wake up every morning. I need to go to work. I need to pick up the kids. I'm a breadwinner, okay, in my house. So you can tell me like, oh, you should be eat this, you should do this, okay, but give me those tools in a way that I can put it in my daily habit, okay.
Yeah.
Don't put me something that it's gonna be hard for me to implement.
Yeah.
And that's why for me, like when you are calm, as when we talk about the heart rate variability, when you're calm, you can see things in reality as it is rather than our thoughts tell us. It's meaning every stimuli that you have, all the things that you see, it needs a response, not a reaction.
Hmm.
Okay? But in order to give a good response to become the best version of yourself, or to do a response that it's more beneficial for everything in your environment, you had to develop those tools. You had to develop a breath technique. You had to understand that you're not your thoughts and you're not what you see. You're the awareness of that. Because that's good to say, but how can I implement that? How can I remind myself talk about those parts when I need it, when I'm under stress?
Yeah. That was one thing that I found particularly interesting about your book, is your focus on, I don't know if spiritual is the right word, but kind of a connection with yourself and a connection with the world around you, the people around you, with community. There's a lot of things like that we can focus on physically, right? Like getting cold, getting hot, moving, eating a certain way. But then there's this sort of this other world, this less tangible world, right? And you kind of get into that a bit. So, um, how did your journey take you to a point of kind of going from sick care, right? Treating illness, treating disease, treating these premature babies to really, as you right here, optimizing yourself.
Yeah. Well, for me, I understand one thing. As a neonatologist, I had to run a code. When I say code, it's meaning I'm gonna give you a sample. I have a preterm baby that will come. They're gonna do an emergency C-section. They're gonna bring the baby to me right away. The baby's not crying. It's not doing nothing. So I need to do neonatal resuscitation things. But I have a team under myself. Okay, I have nurses. I have other doctors like general pediatricians. I have to tell them what the task they need to do. But I only have seconds to do those
Yeah.
things.
Okay.
In that part, I understand I need to be calm because I need to be assertive
Mm.
and need to be in the right mind to tell them what the things they had to do. There's a
Yeah.
lot of emotions, there's a lot of stress
Yeah.
that's going on, but I need to remind myself calm. And I say to myself, that's something that I cannot only implement here. I can implement in my entire life, in every decision that I make, in every situation in my life. So when I'm in those moments under stress, I start to do a breath technique. Also, when I started to develop those breath technique was in my journey when I started to study for the United States Medical License Examination because I
Hmm.
started to dig in the physiology of the body because that's what we had to study. But at the same time, I say to myself, in order to reach something that you never got it, you have to do something different. I started to do wellness practice, but for me, it's not only do it just wellness practice because they say so. For me, it was
Okay.
understanding how it works on my body so I can optimize myself with the things that I
Okay.
have. So at that point was when I started to understand how the type of meditation, because we have different type of meditation, but I just need something that helped me to decrease my heart rate to be calm. Because we
Yep.
live in a life on autopilot, meaning that we always want the external things to run the show.
Yeah.
So when I start to be calm, when I start to be present, I understand one thing. There is someone inside of me, there is a voice. It's who am I? It's the
Okay.
observer of life. It's the one
Hmm.
that decides the way they want to respond. So that person you need to know. You need to know them because that person is who you are and have different informations based off your background, your cultural things. And at that point, people would like to say, "Oh, be yourself," and that will go. That can go with spiritual. That can people call soul essence. But What does it take to be yourself? Who is that person when you say be yourself?
Yeah. Ever wonder if your supplements are actually doing anything? With Viome's full body intelligence test, you'll know exactly what your body needs. This isn't just another generic test, it's an advanced, holistic analysis of your unique biology. So imagine having a detailed, personalized nutrition roadmap to optimize every aspect of your health. Viome's test gives you actionable recommendations to enhance digestion, boost immunity, improve oral health, support cardiovascular health, maintain mental wellness, and even slow down internal aging. So picture this: 8 high-level integrative health scores, each supported by over 50 subscores, working together to then determine exactly what foods and supplements will benefit you most. I've taken the Viome test myself, and I'm telling you, it's a game changer. There's no more guessing or wasting money on supplements that you might not need or might not be doing anything for you. With Viome, I now have precise, effective advice tailored to my body's needs. They don't just tell you what you need, but they have a subscription where you can order supplements and probiotics and prebiotics directly from them, which are designed based on your lab results. And the insights are incredible. Viome's test told me which foods to embrace and which to avoid, and it helps me to optimize my diet and my supplement regimen. Why settle for a one-size-fits-all approach to health and supplementation when you can have personalized, data-driven recommendations? It is time to take control of your health with Viome. Head over to primalwellnesscoaching.com/Viome. That's Viome, primalwellnesscoaching.com/Viome, and use code PWC110, PWC110, that's Primal Wellness Coaching 110, at checkout for $110 off the full body intelligence test. Don't just hope for better health, know what to do to achieve it. Take the test and transform your health journey today.
So in science, we call epigenetics. Epigenetics mean all the change that happen in your DNA. So since you were born till now, no one had the same experience as you because you're the only one who have experienced your life.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother and father give you your DNA, and those experiences have been shaped your DNA based on who you are. So if you want to be fair enough, you can never compare yourself with no one because you're the only one who know your own advantage and disadvantage.
Right.
But at the same time, nobody gave you a script how to be yourself. You're learning how to be yourself based on all the knowledge, all the experience, and the past that you have. So when you get to know yourself in a deeper level, when I say deeper level, it's meaning that no one else know you better than you. And
Yeah.
no one else have the role to be you because that role was only given to you. Okay? So that's one aspect. And that's when people can call it spirituality, soul, essence. But it's getting to know who you are, what you want, and all the experience, what have you learned from all the experience. And then when you know that part, then you can be calm to respond the way you want to respond.
Yeah.
And the other part is how our mind works because our thoughts tell us a lot of things. But let me put this analogy. Our mind have different thoughts, can be either good or bad. But if you have a pool full of balls of two colors, one ball is red, the other ball is blue, and people say, "Oh, just focus on the blue balls." What you gonna do with the red ones? Just gonna let it be. You don't
Okay.
have to react with every thought that you have. You don't have to
Okay.
react with everything that happened in your life. You have to respond. And respond
Yeah.
meaning when you see the stimuli, when you're under pressure, under stress, when you have the things, calm down, analyze yourself, and then you respond according to the way you want because you know who
That's
you are and
that's
you're
hard.
learning.
That's hard for people to do. Like that's kind of recognizing in the moment that you're having, like, an emotional reaction to whatever, and consciously stepping back from that. I mean, if everyone could do that well, I think that would, that would be great, but that's definitely hard for people to even know that they're in that state, right? Like sometimes it just takes over, but if they can step back, then that's certainly where certain tools come into play. And you mentioned it a moment ago, and I earmarked it here in the book, but you've got the Vanderhorst breathwork technique, which is pretty darn simple, right? I mean, it's doing some diaphragmatic breathing, right, and it's a certain cadence. Looks like 4 in, 2 hold, 6 out, 2 hold.
Yeah, in a
Um,
by time.
yeah, and I have a lot of my clients that come to me for wellness coaching. When I prescribe when I have them do breath work, I usually just default to box breathing because it's easy. People can remember it, right? 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold, or 5 or 6 or whatever. So why is this technique? I guess, how is it different than a more even cadence?
Yeah, honestly, for me, yeah, when I started to do breath technique for meditations, I was doing the bots too, like 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. But in a way, I feel like I need something that it's faster, that need to decrease my stress level, my heart rate in a faster way because I'm
Okay.
dealing in a stressful environment. That's how, like, also when I was working in the emergency department, working in the NICU, it's always stressful. So I need something that
Yeah.
is quick, that I can do it right away. And that's why I understand when you exhale longer, you give it more time to your body to expel the blood, like to expel more blood to go to the muscle. But at the same time, your ribs, because you had negative pressure in your thorax, will help to your. It will help to press your heart to understand that you're going to decrease your heart rate.
And as I understand it, the exhale in particular is where you get more vagal nerve stimulation. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not right.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
vagus
So with
stimulation, it's the one that it's gonna decrease the heart rate
right.
and do like decrease the respiratory rate, the oxygen consumption.
Yeah. Yeah. I dig it. Because the hold, that part's kind of boring, but the inhale and the exhale is where you're kind of getting the action, right? And I get in my cold plunge every day, and that's usually where I do my breath work. Um, and I'm gonna try it this way. Usually I do a little bit longer. I don't know how you feel. Like usually I do like it's 15 seconds each way, so it's usually about like a 6 or 7 second inhale, and then like a 7 or 8 second hold, and then like 7 or 8 second exhale, and then like 5 or 6 second hold. Um,
But you do your cold plunge. You stay there for how long?
Usually about 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. Yeah. I also do cold plunge and I like it because it's helped you with two things. It's helped you to understand that you're not your thoughts.
Yeah,
That's the faster way that make you like, okay, you in control of yourself.
yeah,
And the second thing, it's give you like I can say the rush that you need in order to embrace the morning that you had, the activity that you had to do. So it gave you the self awareness of yourself, and it
hmm
gives you the energy that you need.
yeah. Well, and I just about never go in the cold plunge without doing breath work. It helps me to pass the time, and it just makes me feel better. So I rarely do one without the other. I would be curious. I should experiment though, because when I get in the cold plunge, I mean, my heart rate it jacks up because
Yeah,
it's
of
it's
course.
just terrible. It's like the worst thing that I can ever do. And then I get in there, I go full submerge, and then I get my head back up, and then I, you know, find my spot, and then I start the breath work, and that's pretty much, I just sit there and do breath work. And by the time I get out, I'm freezing, but like I feel amazing. So I go from this like threat state in the front end to just feeling absolutely incredible by the time I get out. Still cold, really cold, but feeling amazing.
And also it helps you with your self talk.
Yeah,
There part you realize like if you can deal the cold plunge, it doesn't matter like if you are under stress because that's the same reaction that you will have if you are under stress.
yeah,
You're preparing yourself to know how you handle yourself under stress, how you handle yourself when the external environment it's how can I say not pleasant.
right. Yeah, the self talk, that's one that I get kind of a secondhand look at when I have people go in my cold plunge. And if it's like their first time going in a cold plunge, it's nobody expects it to be as terrible as it is. Like everyone expects it to be terrible, but not quite as terrible as it is going into the cold plunge. And so, I get to see the self-talk like happening right in front of me, right? They get in there and 10 seconds later, they're like, I can't do this. I guess you can. Just take a slow breath. 15 seconds later, I'm getting out. Just wait, give yourself a moment, relax. So it's, sometimes the self-talk takes over pretty quickly when you don't know what you're capable of.
Yeah, I like that when you say you're capable of. Like, we don't know this thing of how amazing our body is. So
Yeah.
we can take our body out of the comfort zone in a way that everyone have. There is no limit, I can say it. Yeah.
Right.
That's why we have the Ironmans, the triathlon, all the things.
Yep.
Because it's in a way that understand that you can take your body out of the comfort zone in a way that it's out of your mind, in a way that
Yeah.
you think like, oh, I can just do this, but no, you can do more than that.
Yeah.
So you need to prove yourself. So those type of things, having discipline, because also do the cold plunge, it's discipline.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally
Not gonna lie, I'm not disciplined every day. There are some days that I give in to my excuses, but most days I get in.
And you start to do the cold plunge in yourself was at what point?
When did I start doing cold plunges? Well, I acquired an actual cold plunge a little over a year ago. So I've been legitimately cold plunging for a bit over a year. Before that, I was doing cold showers for maybe a year or two. And cold showers, when it's 90 degrees here all summer long, cold showers really aren't very cold, right? The water coming out of the tap is like 70 degrees. So it's really not that cold.
That's true.
Yes. Let's talk about some of the other kind of wellness methodologies that you have here in your book. One kind of along the lines of self-talk, one that you put in here, and something that I've kind of disregarded in my own wellness practice that I really need to explore more is self-love. So you have a chapter in here on self-love as a wellness practice. So talk about that. Let's talk about like what does self-love look like, and how do you know if you're at a point where like that's something that you really need to bring?
Perfect. That's a good question. Because we talk about a little bit about awareness, how you aware of yourself, okay, and who are the person that you say be yourself. So that's when we talk about self-love. But first of all, in order to talk about self-love, people need to know what love means, because love, it's a subjective definition. It's based on your cultural things, your backgrounds, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then when you define what is love, then we're gonna add self-love. So as we spoke in the past, you can never compare yourself because you're unique based off epigenetic. Nobody can be you. But that's easy to say. I can say, yeah, I love myself. I know I'm unique. But how can I build that? How can I build that empathetic things? How can I be more tuned with myself?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I respond in a way that is authentic to myself? That it's my essence.
Yeah.
At that point, that will self-love counts. So I do in my book, I do analogies and put it together with what we call the hormone oxytocin. Because as a pediatrician, you can see how like months when they have their baby right away, they are under a lot of things at the same time. Like they shut down different hormones from estrogen, progesterone to prolactin.
Yeah.
At the same time, they don't sleep because you have to feed a baby every 2 to 3 hours. They're
Yeah.
deprived of sleep. Okay? And then you have a baby, be honest, that every 2 hours or every hour just cry because that's the only way they know to communicate. Okay?
Yep.
So you're burdened with a lot of things, like you're deprived of sleep, different hormones, you cannot sleep. So when you breastfeed your baby, that's when oxytocin goes. But oxytocin is a hormone for empathy, okay, to connections with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I say, okay, if that people do it of physiology or body does to connect with each other, how can you do it to connect with yourself, to understand that you are more worth it than what you think? Okay?
Yep.
And that part, it's help you to be aware of who you are, aware of the response that you want to do. Okay? Because self-love, it's not something that, okay, yeah, I know I love myself. No. How do you know you love yourself? It's when you do things that it help you and bring the best version of yourself. And what is
Yeah.
the best version of yourself? Only you know what is the best version of yourself, because life only had to have meaning for you. Okay?
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of narrative in our head about like what it should be, what it shouldn't be. A lot of people will tell you what you should do, what you shouldn't do. At the end, it's your own responsibility, if you're unresponsive. Okay? And one thing that people don't know, with the person that you spend most of the time of your day is with yourself, with your thoughts, with your mind. Okay? So if you don't develop that self-love, that self-talk with yourself, what do you expect to order to understand that part? Okay, because when you understand those in yourself, it's gonna be, people say like, I it's what you see, what happened inside, it can be seen outside. Even if you don't see it, other people can see it.
Yeah.
That's why when you nourish what's inside of you, when you nourish who you are, when you know deep down and you're really confident of the things that you said, what you want, what you don't want, based off what the things you said to yourself, people can see that. And
Yeah.
that can be a reflection, and that can cause a ripple effect in others, because
Yeah.
you impact others just for the way of who you are.
Interesting. And you put in here the high fiving yourself, right? So, and I haven't tried this yet. I'm not because I don't want to. I kind of forgot. I haven't made it a part of my practice. So I haven't remembered it. But like, does that have like a measurable effect
Yeah,
where you high
measurement.
five your reflection in the mirror?
Yeah, the thing is in science, I'm gonna explain science, and that was like Mel Robbins in the High Five Habit that she wrote that she started to do those parts. And when I
Okay.
started digging in science how that worked, I was like, amazing. That's an amazing tool. As we talked before, like oxytocin is the hormone empathy. That's how mom started empathy with the child when they're doing breastfeeding. So
Yeah.
when you do a high five to yourself, when you reach your hands to the mirror, you do two things. The first thing is just increase the oxytocin to you, the empathy to yourself. But
Yeah.
at the same time, social cultural things, what high five means. It's a celebration.
Right.
So you are celebrating for yourself. You are understanding that you are keeping up. You are moving forward. You always taking care of yourself. And
Yeah.
the only way that, because nobody gonna take care of you,
Yeah.
it's only you. And sometimes we expect others to take care of us, but it's not their responsibility. It's our responsibility to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you can take care of yourself, you can help others. It's the same. There's a phrase that say you had to fill your glass first in order to fill other,
Yeah.
and that's
That's
how it works.
that's a big part of kind of my message that I try to give to my clients or just to like my community is that if you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of the people that depend on you, right? Like I take a couple hours in the morning usually to take care of myself, and I am profoundly aware that when I don't do that, if I choose sleep, if I don't get out of bed until like my kids drag me out of bed, I'm not I'm not a great parent. Like I'm much better. I'm in a much better place when I take that time to focus on my own wellness and get myself in, awake and in a good place, and I feel, and I feel good about myself knowing that I'm taking care of myself in addition to just, the health things that I'm doing. And then by the time someone else can pull me from myself because they need me for them, it just I show up so much better.
Yeah, and I like when you say show up to other in a different way, because when you're rooting in your confidence in yourself, because you are taking care of yourself. And this is a journey. When I say a journey, it's not like every day you're gonna feel like, yeah, I'm gonna take care of myself. I feel great. No, yeah, we have a lot of emotions. Comes and go. Emotions is just information about ourselves. But we had to deal with things in a way that we can, and we handle situations with the knowledge that we know at this moment.
Yeah.
That's why when I say it's a journey, it's meaning that every day you're learning. Every day you're learning new ways of how to keep yourself up, how to like show up to others in the best way that you can.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of my clients are parents. And it's a struggle for a lot of parents to accept that taking time for self-care is not selfish, right? It's selfless because of exactly what we just talked about, right? You know, the better you care for yourself, the better you can care for those around you. And that's, you know, these are people with, you know, I have a job and I have a spouse and I have kids and, you know, I'm busy. So, you know, it wouldn't be right for me to take time away from those responsibilities to, you know, go do a yoga class or, you know, whatever. If, you know, my feel good thing is, you know, going and watching a movie by myself once in a while, well, that's not right. I shouldn't do that. But you know what? Do it. You know, if you know what makes you feel good and makes you happy and makes you be, you know, a more positive and present person, then take that time. You know, organize it, you know, if you need to change your work schedule or you need to work it out with your partner or you just need to be like, okay, I'm going to make sure someone else cares for my kids, you know, at this time on these days so that I can do something for myself. Like that is okay. Do it.
Yeah, one thing I always say when people try new things, something that take out their comfort zone. So let's talk this. When I say comfort zone, it's meaning that you have things that you know how to handle. Okay, you know how
Yeah.
to deal with those things. When take
Mm-hmm.
out your comfort zone, it's meaning that you don't know how to handle this is new to you.
Yeah.
So doing new practice, doing new things that you don't know the outcomes and you haven't done before, it takes you out of your comfort zone. And
Yep.
we have a lot of things that, as you say, some people feel guilty for those things. So because it's something new, but that doesn't mean because you feel one emotion, that doesn't mean that it's bad for you. Okay,
Yep.
that's why you have to understand that you're the awareness of the things. So emotions just tell you information about who you are and how you interpret those things that happen to you around you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Well, being a parent in particular is a pretty emotional, real pretty emotional ride.
And it's a lovely journey. I
Yeah,
would
it
say
is.
to all the parents that I have, like it's a wonderful journey because
Yeah.
you're learning how to be a parent because nobody
Yep.
teaches you at the same time. Yeah, but it's also that you're learning every day because every day it's new things that happen.
Yep.
Okay? You're learning for new two perspective, how to be a parent and how to develop yourself in a different environment, in a parent
Yep.
role.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talk in your book about gratitude as well. So chapter 6 is gratitude, and that's something that I am a firm believer in, and I do incorporate into my own wellness programs. But what's uh, what's what's your take on gratitude? Like, how does that kind of impact wellness?
Yeah. When I'm really I like to write like three gratitudes that I'm grateful, but I realize that gratitude is more than that. I realize in a society to grow, we grow in a community when everyone
Mm-hmm.
is helping each other, when we are talking to each other, we are connected.
Yeah.
So in science, gratitude, it was a Dr. Andrew Huberman, alive, his neuroscience doctor. He understand that gratitude it's a circuit in our brain that it gets activated when people are helping others. When we're
Mm-hmm.
watching a movie, when we hear a song, someone's helping others, it's activate the same circuits that when we write it down three grateful things that we are doing like every morning.
Yeah.
And what it costs, it's make us to be more connected, to be proactive, to help others.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are in this state of gratitude. So when we are grateful for the things, we are present. Because in order to be grateful, you have to be present of the thing that is happening at the moment
Yeah.
in order to embrace that. And at the same time, it helps you to be connected, to understand that you are part of the community. You are part of something else that it's go to help to
Yeah.
increase your awareness and help the society in the best way that you can with your essence, with who you are, with your unique.
Yep. Yeah. I love it. I love gratitude. One thing that I do with my boys, so I have a 2-year-old and a almost 6-year-old, and when I'm putting them to bed, um, we'll do gratitude. So kind of one of the last things that we do before they go to sleep is we read some stories and they get in bed, and then we kind of do like a round robin of gratitude. So I asked the 2-year-old and do you have a gratitude? And, he's very excited. Yeah. What's your gratitude? And his answer is almost always mama. I'm like, that's great. Yeah. I'm grateful for mama too. And then I'll ask the 5-year-old, and sometimes he'll just, he doesn't know. He'll look around and be like, I'm grateful for my lamp. I'm like, okay, that's all right. But sometimes he actually comes up with something profound. Like, I'm grateful that, some kid played with me at school today, or I'm grateful that, that you took me to eat pizza. I'm like, cool. Like, you actually thought about that answer. Like, I appreciate that. So I try to wrap up the day with the gratitudes. And one thing that I did for a moment that I've actually forgotten about, but your self-love thing here kind of reminds me, is we also did, for a short period of time, we did affirmations. So, it was, tell me something that you like about yourself. Tell me something that you're good at. And that was harder. That was a lot harder for my 5-year-old. Like, he didn't really know what to do with that. So I would try to guide him or nudge him along to appreciate different things about himself. But
Wow, I really like
yeah,
that.
I'm kind of inspired to bring that back now.
No, and honestly, that's really healthy because you're building the self trust and self love for themselves since a young age. Because as a pediatrician before being a neonatologist, I had in my clinic a lot of teenagers that nobody told them giving affirmations of who they
Mm,
are, and they
yeah,
never know like if they're worth it or not. That was
yeah,
also the problem that they have as a teenager.
yeah.
I
I
was
can see
like,
that.
yeah, and for me, I was like, now that when you're talking about like affirmations, and he, as you say, your kids doesn't know, like, oh, I don't know what I'm grateful, and you are telling them, it's you're reassuring and you're giving like security and confidence to themselves because you're doing that with him. That's something that he can do by itself later on that will
Yeah,
have a positive ripple effect. And I
yeah,
like those part of affirmation because in science, we talk about the placebo effect. Have you heard about placebo effect?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
It's meaning like it's literally the proof that people can heal solely on expectation and belief.
Right.
Okay, so that's why I talk about perspective of my book, one part. It's because when you read one positive quote a day, when you have affirmations, it helps you to remind the perspective that you want to see in life
Hmm.
because the perspective that you have in your mind, that's when you focus on the life. That's what you see in every situation that happens to you.
Yeah,
In your day to day, it won't say like, oh, it will have a good or bad day. Regardless, it's the perspective that you give to that situation that it help you. But the perspective that you're gonna get, it depends on what you feed yourself. So reading a positive quote a day, have affirmation of yourself will help you to remind the perspective. Because we have social media, a lot of advertisement that tell you different things. And there's I can say it's just distracting a lot of things. But if you had something that help you to keep you grounded and understand and remind that perspective, it help you. As I told you, it's like a placebo effect.
yeah. One thing that my father has passed away, but one thing that he was really good at, um, was always sh- recognizing things that other people were good at and vocalizing it. Like, all the time he would, I would do something that to me was kind of inconsequential, but he would, he'd be like, wow, Drew, you are really good at that. Or I really like the way you did that. And he did that a lot. He did that with everyone around him. And for him, that was just the way it was. Like if he saw something that he liked, then he would say he liked it. Like it was very cool. And I didn't really think about that until I kind of got into the whole wellness space. But how good that was for me to grow up with that, right? To grow up with him telling me that I'm good at things, right? That and reinforcing, positivity in my life. And now I try to emulate that with my kids as well.
Yeah, and honestly, in this world, it's really hard to find someone that tell you positive things to you, affirmations to you.
Yeah.
So if you have like a family relative or as a father to tell to your son or someone else, it's more easier because you don't look as a lot of people that like to look for external things to tell them the validations. And sometimes
Yeah.
you don't have those validations, those things, even in your household, like in your own community. So that's why it's something that we really need because that will help to forge for the future and forge for yourself to help how to develop yourself in a way that it's more better to for bring the best version of yourself
Mm-hmm.
because it's a
Yep.
process. It's a process of learning tools and applying those tools in a stepwise manner.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I mean, and these are all just examples of how you can incorporate easy wellness practices into your life, and it takes no time whatsoever. Like it doesn't take time to be appreciative of yourself or of other things.
Yeah, and one thing that you say it's like we work with parents, and as we said before, like parents they had to work, like they had to wake up early, they had to go to work, they have a lot of things that happen going on, they had to take care of the kids, they had to pick up the kids, so we had to simplify, and that's okay because that's how the world is right now, and it's changing fast in a faster way. It's not only just the household, it's also in politics, in economic things, all now the AI, the technology that we have it's put
Yeah.
it's moving in a faster pace that we had to keep it on.
Yep.
So we had to learn tools that it can be easy, practical for us to use in the daily day that we can
Yeah.
implement in the habits that we have.
Yeah. The world is constantly full of new stress. And I mean, look at social media, right? People go on social media as, some, a little bit of escapism, right? Let me just go see what's going on with everyone else. But it stresses people out. Social media is a huge stressor, and people are on it all the time, almost addicted to it. Um, and that's just one example, right? Pick up the news. The news is never good. It's like there are so many things that if we don't counteract them with with wellness practices that have like real and profound effects, then it's so easy to get caught up in just distraction and negativity.
Yeah, and we live in this world, and like my message and my idea, it's not like, oh, you had to be isolated from the world. No, we had to live in the world. We had to live in this
Yeah,
environment that
absolutely.
there is no escape, but you can have tools, you can have things, information that can help you to navigate those things.
Yep.
You can live in that environment, and also at the same time, you can strive. So that's what my message, and that's I think we all have informations of things that can help to each other.
Yep. Yep. And you've got a number of other things in here. So I mean, I'll link to your book in the show notes for this episode at thesuperhumanblueprintpodcast.com. But like you got uh, sleep, exercise, diet, like all a whole kind of range of wellness things, and I love it. And I have a 10-week wellness transformation program that I run my clients through, and it's a lot of these things in this book, right? It's gratitude. It is minor corrections to diet, because I think diet is a thing that kind of warrants its own like full review and customized approach, but a little bit on diet, a lot on movement, and then things like incorporating stressors like cold and heat, and um, kind of natural medicine, like getting natural light in the morning, um, and hydrating properly, right? And just things that singularly are no big deal. Um, but when you add them all up and you get them in kind of the right doses, they can have profound impacts on physical and mental wellness.
Yeah, and it's because you are giving guidance on how they can understand the physical body with the mind. Because
Yeah.
people see those things as a separate part that they can not work together. But yeah, you can work both together by doing those type of tools and exercise at the same time.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, I love it. The greatest thing that I'll ever see is someone transform their life in a positive way. Right. When someone comes to me and is like, I'm hydrating properly and I'm paying more attention to my sleep and I'm taking a, 30-second cold shower in the morning and I'm happier and I have more energy and I have more focus. Like, see, you didn't need to spend, 3 hours a day, like doing some crazy routine. It's just these little things that make a profound difference.
Yeah, and as you say, like it's just those little small habits because wellness it's not a destination, it's a continuous journey. And so
Hmm.
every small habit that you do, it's a small step that you're taking for bettering yourself.
Yeah. And that's kind of my big reveal, which everyone gets now at the end of the program is, you get to week 10 because it's all incremental, right? I start out with everything being very simple and manageable and then build upon it over the course of 10 weeks so that, by the 10th week, it's more profound. People wouldn't want to start at the week 10 protocol, right? They start at week 1 and it's much more doable. But then when they're done, when week 10's over, I'm like, hey, guess what? You're not actually done because this is just your life now. Now you're gonna keep doing this for the rest of your life because if you stop doing all this, then all those profound benefits you're experiencing are gonna kind of slowly go away.
Yeah, and I think the way you explain, I like it because you go uh, probably weekly and given just one tool that they can use. And at the end of the course, they have different tools because you don't bombard them with a lot of information right away. You go slowly and go
Yep.
incremental. Yeah, I
Yep.
like that.
Yeah. It's and that's over years of research and trial, right? Of kind of coming up with the protocol that I feel like works well for, I would say the average person, right? If you get someone that's like hardcore wellness or like hardcore, I love, doing hard things and getting out of my comfort zone, fine. I'll start them in week 10. I'll just say, this is your life now. Here's the whole protocol. But for your average person, kind of like myself before I got into this space, and for most of the people I work with, like they don't want to go and do like all the things that they're going to do in week 10. But if I show them week 1 and say, okay, here's a few things you're going to do in this kind of minimal way, they're like, okay, that seems pretty doable. And then just little bit by little bit each week, a little bit more.
Incremental.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I love it. And I love having resources to refer people back to, like your book, and like different tools. I'm a big fan of like sleep trackers and movement trackers, and now I'm getting more familiar with the power of tracking HRV. Then books and podcasts and things like that, so that people can do their own research, right? So people can understand why. Don't just listen to me. You go learn for yourself.
And that's something I really like, and I like what you do with your podcast because it's not only we, it's not like I have the whole truth and you have the whole truth. It's just like we have informations, we are sharing the informations, we are giving the informations to everyone to help them in the best way that they can. Because we cannot say like, oh, this is the whole truth, you have to follow this. No, there's ton of information, and sometimes when you have ton of information, it's hard to discern like which one is feasible, which one is better. So
Right.
what you're doing with your podcast, it's really amazing because you are dig down and digging all the information to understand the things and also giving as a resources to all the people that want it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And that's kind of the main thing, is giving people information and tools to one, make their own decisions and take control themselves. And that's why even like my 10-week transformation program, I've made it a self-paced thing. I have like an actual online program that people can buy and do themselves, because they don't actually need me. Like all the things, you don't need someone standing over you saying, drink this much water right now, go outside right now. Like these are all things that people can do on their own. And that's what I like about wellness in general, is it's largely DIY. Like you can do it yourself. You don't need to go see someone. Like you just need to understand what it is that you need to do and why and what you're going to get out of it. But, once you have the knowledge and the willpower, then, you're your own doctor.
That's true. But one thing, I always had this thing because I like people who really intrigue and want to better themselves. But I always wonder, how can we spark the curiosity and the willingness to other people to better than themselves? How we can spark, like, we can say the light or something that tell them, like, okay, if I need to change, if I need to learn the different perspective that I can learn from that, like how we can
Yeah.
tell people or bring people that curiosity. That's I always try to figure out.
Yeah, that's a hard one, and I have a struggle with that. Obviously, the doctor that I spoke to a few days ago, like he was saying, he struggles with that when he tries to talk to his patients about lifestyle. When I try to talk to people about lifestyle, just in my personal life, if I see someone that's like, maybe their energy's low, or they have an opportunity to make some adjustments for positive change, like if they're not emotionally like curious or ready to get that kind of information or guidance, then they don't want to hear it. They don't care. Like maybe they'll listen to be polite, but that's as far as it goes. So it's really, I've almost stopped, to be honest, which kind of makes me sad, right? Because like people in my life, I want them all to do all these things so that they have all the focus and the energy and the mental clarity and the health and all that. But it, yeah, if I feel like I'm almost being annoying if I'm just, continuously telling people, did you know you can do this and you can do this and it'll do this? And like, yeah, okay. So I'm at a point now where I kind of wait for people to come to me. Um, and then we'll go down the rabbit hole. But yeah, I haven't figured that out. Like I want everyone to have this knowledge, and I want everyone to want to take control of their health and wellness in that way, but not everyone's there.
Yeah, but I think now you're nailed it and you're doing it because you're having the podcast, you have your program. I think like being a role model can have an impact because that's how we can change order by being an example. I think that's a way. There's different way, but I don't know the real answer. But for me, I think that's the best thing that we can do. Just
Yeah.
be the role model, be a sample, so people can rely on, and when they are ready, they can ask the questions and come forward.
Well, it is funny when I'm out with, people in my circle that aren't necessarily interested in the same things I'm interested in, but just people, friends, whatever, there's always a joke if we're going out to eat. They're like, "Oh, is that Drew approved?" So um, one of the kind of the nicest, nicer feel good moments I had was, so I'm not a celebrity by any measure. I have, my program and my client base, and I have this podcast and a small social media following. Um, in a way, in with the podcast and the social media in particular, it's, people that are interested in what we're talking about. That's how they find me. Um, so that's where I'm able to get this message out to people that actually want to hear it. And a few months ago, I was having dinner with a friend, and she was telling me about how her mom, and I know her mom. Um, Her mom was working with a customer, and the customer like referenced something that she heard from a podcast, and it turns out it was one of my podcasts. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like somebody that I don't know out there in the world kind of listened to my show, and they learned something, and it meant enough that they're going to talk to, this kind of random person about it, and then that person happened to know me. So, just knowing that, there is a cascade effect of putting information out there. It makes me feel good that even if I don't know that we're helping people by having this conversation and putting it out there, um, that we are, that it is happening.
Yeah, that's how you do the ripple effect. How to
Yeah.
ripple effects. Just showing out and put like your project, what you're passionate on it to help others. You put it out there, and then the outcomes, you just had to leave it to the world.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
That's the only thing that we can do.
Well, Edgar, this has been a really nice chat. Again, I really like what you're doing. Obviously, the things that you're doing in the NICU. Thank you for saving babies' lives. There's nothing more amazing than saving the lives of babies. But just putting wellness at the forefront of your focus. If more people in the medical field start doing that, I think we'll move in a really good direction. So thank you for being a pioneer and for joining me on this show and just talking about wellness and taking care of yourself.
Well, thank you, Drew, for these invitations. Honestly, I really like this conversation. And I really like that we are, as I said before, you are doing amazing. We're just sharing information to help bettering other ones. Okay. And I think this is a revolution. I can say that this is not just something that is going to stay here. I think this is just the beginning, and we can just gonna impact in the best way that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I am full of hope as well. So folks, I will link to Edgar's social profiles and information on the show notes at the superhumanblueprintpodcast.com. I will link to the book so you can get the book as well. Like I said, physical, audio, all good. It's an easy read, but definitely worth the time. Thank you so much for being here.